Imagine you're lounging on an idyllic beach in Florida, sipping your cocktail as the sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The air is warm, the sound of waves soothing, the moment perfect. Suddenly, the sky darkens as if night has decided to come early. Within minutes, what was a calm breeze turns vicious, escalating to winds that scream at speeds you can't even comprehend. Tearing umbrellas from the sand, flinging chairs into the air, and then blowing everything and everyone apart. This sudden turn from paradise to sheer chaos is the stark reality of the hurricanes we're delving into today. These aren't mere storms, they're titans of wind and water, capable of obliterating coastlines, flattening entire neighborhoods, and upending lives without a moment's notice. The hurricanes we'll explore have caused hundreds of billions of dollars in damage, a staggering toll that underscores the sheer scale of their destructive power. Join us as we navigate through the harrowing tales of devastation, survival, and recovery. Hurricane Katrina. Our exploration of Hurricane Katrina's wrath starts with its landfall in late August 2005, marking one of the most harrowing episodes in modern history.
Here comes a big wave, dude. Stand by. Oh my God, this water right there. This thing is coming up real quick. Let's go to the stairs, guys. Yeah, we'll go to the stairs.
This storm wasn't just a meteorological event. It was a catastrophe that left behind over $125 billion in damage and claimed more than 1,800 lives. The tragedy extended beyond human communities, affecting countless animals, from pets separated from their families to wildlife upended from their natural habitats. In New Orleans, the failure of the levee system, a critical defense meant to protect the city from flooding, resulted in a disaster of unimaginable proportions. Over 80% of New Orleans found itself submerged under floodwaters, transforming residential areas, business districts, and historic neighborhoods into a waterlogged wasteland. The visual aftermath was staggering. Homes lifted from their foundations and carried blocks away, vehicles lodged in trees, and landmarks once symbolic of the city's cultural heritage reduced to debris. The impact on infrastructure was severe, with entire utility systems, water, gas, electricity, crippled or destroyed, leaving the city without essential services for weeks and, in some areas, months. The economic toll extended beyond the immediate physical damage, affecting livelihoods, industry, and the broader economy of the Gulf Coast region. Schools, hospitals, and emergency services faced unprecedented challenges, with the health and welfare of the population severely compromised. The environmental consequences were equally profound. The flooding led to significant environmental contamination, with oil spills, chemical releases, and widespread mold infestations posing long-term ecological and health risks. The region's natural habitats, from wetlands to wildlife reserves, suffered extensive damage, impacting biodiversity and ecosystem services. In a positive note, there was a group called the Cajun Navy. This makeshift flotilla was an impromptu assembly of individuals driven by nothing but a will to help. With their personal boats, these everyday heroes, ranging from fishermen to office workers, ventured into the submerged streets. Their mission was driven by a simple yet profound purpose: rescue and relief for those trapped by the deluge, risking their own safety for strangers and saving countless lives in the process.
The road to recovery has been long and fraught with challenges, underscoring the resilience of affected communities, but also highlighting the need for improved disaster preparedness and infrastructure resilience.
Hurricane Katrina's legacy is a stark reminder of the vulnerability of human societies to natural forces. The storm's aftermath laid bare the disparities within communities and the importance of community-based disaster response strategies. Hurricane Maria. In September 2017, Hurricane Maria redefined catastrophe for Puerto Rico, etching a path of unparalleled destruction that the Caribbean had seldom witnessed. storm inflicted over $90 billion in damages, a staggering figure that barely encapsulates the extent of the devastation. It claimed nearly 3,000 lives, making it one of the deadliest hurricanes in U.S. history. Beyond the grim death toll, the hurricane's wrath left a physical scar across the island. An estimated 200,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed, displacing thousands and erasing landmarks. The roads bore the weight of the chaos, with over 3,000 vehicles abandoned, damaged, or swept away by the floods, contributing to the island's paralyzed infrastructure. The environmental impact was profound, with Puerto Rico's lush landscapes and diverse ecosystems facing severe disruption. The power grid's collapse led to the longest blackout in U.S. history, affecting nearly every one of the island's 3.4 million residents. Essential services were halted, medical care was disrupted, and the basic fabric of daily life was torn apart, leaving communities in a struggle for survival amid the ruins. Imagine going months without power. That was a reality for the poor souls on the island. The visual aftermath of Maria was stark. Neighborhoods once vibrant with life reduced to rubble, essential infrastructure like bridges and roads obliterated, and agricultural fields that once fed the island laid waste. The scale of destruction was not just material but also emotional, with the loss of homes, heirlooms, and a sense of security leaving deep psychological scars on the population. In the face of this unprecedented disaster, the people of Puerto Rico displayed remarkable resilience. Grassroots efforts spearheaded the island's recovery, with Puerto Ricans from all walks of life coming together to rebuild their communities. Makeshift community centers became hubs of hope and assistance, providing not just food and shelter, but also a sense of solidarity and purpose. The diaspora played a crucial role, leveraging social media and international networks to funnel aid back to the island, showcasing the global reach of the Puerto Rican spirit. Hurricane Maria's legacy is a stark reminder of the vulnerability faced by Caribbean communities in an era of climate change. It underscores the need for resilient infrastructure, robust disaster preparedness plans, and the importance of community in the face of adversity. The recovery process, still ongoing, highlights not just the physical rebuilding of structures, but also the rebuilding of lives, communities, and the very heart of Puerto Rico. Hurricane Irma. Crossing the Atlantic for Hurricane 3 in 2017, Hurricane Irma tore through the Caribbean and Florida, setting records as one of the most powerful storms ever.
This is Governor Gus Jasper. I come to you with a heavy heart after experiencing and observing the extent of devastation caused by Hurricane Irma.
This hurricane caused incredible destruction everywhere it hit. It left behind more than $64 billion in damage and affected over 1.5 million people. Homes, businesses, and roads were ruined, with about 65% of all buildings in its path damaged in some way. Barbuda felt Irma's power most severely, with 90% of its buildings damaged or completely destroyed, making the island almost empty for a while. The storm also wrecked more than 10,000 cars, leaving them piled up, buried, or washed away. Nature suffered too, with large areas of coral reefs damaged and many mangrove forests, which protect against erosion and storms, severely hurt. Despite this massive hit, the effort to rebuild started right away. It wasn't just about fixing buildings, but also about healing the environment. For example, after losing about 3 million trees, there were big efforts to plant new ones. People also worked hard to fix the coral reefs, replanting over 50,000 coral pieces to help underwater life recover. The recovery shows the strong spirit of the Caribbean people. They're not just fixing what was lost, but are working to make their communities stronger and ready for future storms. Irma's story is tough, with lots of damage and loss. But it's also about people coming together, helping each other, and looking forward to a better future. Hurricane Sandy, now launching into Hurricane 4. In late October 2012, Hurricane Sandy, later known as Superstorm Sandy, unleashed its fury along the eastern seaboard of the United States, hitting New York and New Jersey with unprecedented force.
Look, it's recording it now, look.
I'm recording it too. That is crazy. It's not even 8 o'clock yet.
This catastrophic event led to an estimated $70 billion in damages, marking it as one of the most financially devastating storms in U.S. history. Sandy's wrath was widespread, affecting 24 states, but it was in the urban landscapes of New York City and the coastal stretches of New Jersey that the storm's impact was most viscerally felt. Sandy's surge transformed city streets into rivers, inundated subway and tunnel systems, and left millions without electricity. The storm damaged or completely destroyed upwards of 650,000 residences, uprooting families and altering communities overnight. In New York City, the surge's might was on full display as it swamped parts of the subway network, causing unprecedented shutdowns and darkened the iconic skyline of Manhattan. New Jersey bore witness to entire neighborhoods being washed away, with seaside boardwalks and attractions that had stood for decades vanishing under the relentless waves. The scale of Sandy's destruction was not just measured in the physical damage to infrastructure and homes, but also in the profound disruption to daily life and the economy. Businesses shuttered, schools closed, and transportation came to a standstill, revealing the fragility of modern urban life in the face of nature's power. The storm's aftermath left stark images of devastation. Cars piled up by the floodwaters, historic boardwalks reduced to splinters, and homes ripped from their foundations. In the wake of Sandy, the sheer magnitude of the task ahead became clear. The storm not only claimed properties and landmarks, but also challenged the resilience of the affected communities. The recovery efforts, while significant, would take years to address the deep scars left by the storm. Hurricane Sandy remains a potent reminder of the destructive power of nature, underscoring the need for preparedness and the effect it can have on the children in these communities, disrupted from schools for long periods of time. Hurricane Harvey, and our final hurricane. In 2017, Hurricane Harvey unleashed its fury on Houston, Texas, breaking records with its rainfall and triggering floods that the city had never witnessed before. The damage was astronomical, with Harvey causing upwards of $125 billion in destruction, marking it as one of the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. The flooding was so severe that it engulfed entire neighborhoods, leaving over 300,000 buildings damaged or destroyed, and tens of thousands of cars were submerged or swept away. The floodwaters transformed Houston's highways into waterways, stranding residents and disrupting lives on an unprecedented scale. At its peak, the storm displaced more than 30,000 people, forcing them into shelters and emergency housing. The scale of the emergency response was massive, involving thousands of federal, state, and local first responders, alongside countless volunteers who came to aid the city in its hour of need. One story that stands out amidst the chaos is the tale of neighbors who formed a human chain to rescue an elderly man from the floodwaters. This moment, a vivid illustration of courage and community in the face of disaster, highlights the incredible acts of heroism and solidarity that emerged during Harvey's onslaught. Despite the immense challenge of recovery, the spirit of Houston and the surrounding areas has been resilient. The process of rebuilding homes, businesses, and infrastructure is ongoing, with efforts focused not just on restoration, but also on improving flood defenses and resilience for the future. Hurricane Harvey's impact goes beyond the physical damage. It serves as a reminder of the power of community and the strength found in coming together to overcome adversity. As we have journeyed through these tales of nature's fury, it becomes clear that hurricanes, for all their might, also reveal our collective capacity for adaptation and ingenuity. The narrative of each storm is interwoven with those of individuals and communities who, when faced with the unimaginable, respond with a resilience that is as formidable as the hurricanes themselves. Hurricanes leave not just a trail of destruction, but also a legacy of recovery and renewal. The stories of those affected, from the Cajun Navy's volunteers to the resilient residents of Puerto Rico, highlight the complexity of the human experience when confronted with the forces of nature. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of hurricanes and the indelible mark they leave on the human spirit. As we reflect on these stories of nature's awe and the enduring strength of communities, we are reminded of our shared vulnerability and interconnectedness in the face of natural disasters. Don't forget to engage with us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more insights into the power of nature and the resilience of humanity.